right? This is part two of a series or of episode 8 of a series I call "Put Me in Coaching." And in this part, I'm going to talk about the power of affirmation and the importance of giving affirmation to your players. So, I'm also going to talk a little bit about constructive criticism, and I'm going to reiterate the importance of reminders. In the previous episode, I talked about practicing, or the previous part, I talked about practicing with intentions, meaning that the players, when they're practicing, they should have a goal of something they want to work on, whether it be map awareness or communication or timing the TP, like I gave for the example with impact. And what's important to understand is when they're making these conscious efforts to practice and they do something well, you need to reaffirm that. And I think the best example of somebody who does this well is actually not a coach, but a player, and it's Bjergsen. Sorry for using TSM. They put out the most content. They put out the most ready available inside information to how their games go. So they're the ones I'm going to use a lot. Um, but Bjergsen does a good job because you'll see him constantly in clips, like in clips where something goes well. He'll constantly reaffirm his teammates, especially the ones who needs the affirmation and needs is work has implemented something that they were clearly working on in practice. The best example of this is when Dyrus makes a sick TP play. They win the skirmish. He's got the home guards coming in. Win the skirmish, get their triple kill or whatever. And Bjergsen goes, "Sick play, Dyrus. That's the TP play I like," or something like that. And which is important because that makes Dyrus on a chemical level, it makes him feel good. He's got the dopamine coming in because he's been complimented, and then he also wants to make that play again. He wants to make the good TP play again because he remembers it going well. It's something that reaffirms him. Uh, so it's good for building confidence of the players when you give them affirmation. Also, sort of on a different angle, you want to give affirmation to the players as a coach, especially, and team captain secondarily, when they're doing something that they didn't realize they were doing, or maybe you think they might not have realized they were doing. So it's hard to find specific examples um, with like professional players because I obviously don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what that they realize they're doing things, but uh, I can only speculate. So I'll give an example that clearly this player does know what he's doing and does realize that he's doing this, but it's just an example. So let's say you're Rainover's coach, and you notice he has clearly great jungle pathing, and none of his teammates have told him this. You don't see all the Reddit posts and analysts talking about it, and you say, "Hey Rainover, your jungle pathing is great. Keep it up. You've been at the right place at the right time. You're not spotted by vision. You always get your ganks off in an efficient manner." Yada yada yada. Okay, that makes him remember that he's doing something good. It makes him want to continue doing it, and also it lets him know that this is an area he already is very good on. He can move that, if you watch the previous episode, to a sort of subconscious practice regimen. Maybe only needs to maintain it, doesn't need to improve it too much, and he can work on other areas where he might not be so strong. Also, on the flip side, criticism is important in the same two areas. So, first, there's the area where, like previously, there's the area where they're working on something consciously, but they're 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 not actually working on it. They want to work on it, but they're not actually working on it. So we'll use Impact trying to time the TP play example again. So Impact wants to time his enemy's top laner's TP and communicate that to his team. But instead, he's staying silent about it the whole game. So you say, "Hey, Impact, what's the top laner's TP?" as a coach during a scrim. And then if he doesn't know, and he's going to have to pay attention for the next time. But if you do that every once in a while to the point where it's just annoying enough, but not entirely annoying to where you're going to piss him off, that he's gonna have your voice in his head every time he's in the top lane. Oh yeah, I should tell my teammates what his TP timer is, so they know they can make a play, or they know we can make, or they know the enemy's not going to try to make a play. Uh, Also, like the positive affirmation, you want to constructively criticize things that players might not be realizing they're doing. So, I'm trying to think of a real physical example that maybe my friends have given me in a game. Oh, okay. Here's one. I am a very, very avid tank player. One of my most played champions is Scion, and he's probably my favorite champion in the game. Maybe next to Amumu. I've been a big Amumu fan right now. But I have Mastery 7 on Scion. I played him for like 20 straight games on my match history at one point. All victories, by the way. I was really proud of that. And yeah, I love playing Scion. So they weren't ranked games though; they were normal games. Anyways, my friend, I was playing Scion, and this is recently, and I was tearing up their backline. I was landing my ultimate on all three of their carries. I was knocking all three of their carries up. Carries being the 80 carry mid laner and jungler, but unfortunately, the enemy top laner was fed as fuck, and I didn't realize this. And my carries were the ones who were fed as well. So it was they're my 80 carry and mid laner were doing pretty well, but their top laner was doing really well. And so what was happening was their support and their top laner was diving onto my carries and killing them faster than I could kill their carries because I couldn't. I'm full tank Scion. I can't kill their carries. I can only CC them and make them useless for the majority of the fight. But what was happening was I was CCing their carries for probably like 4 seconds in a row, but during those 4 seconds, my carries were just outright dying to the top laner and the support that they couldn't kill. And so my teammates go, "Hey Ned, instead of diving them, you need to be peeling for us because that's how we're gonna win the fight. We're gonna do more damage." And that was something I didn't realize I was doing wrong because I thought I was doing it well. I thought I was playing my character to the best of the ability, which was to knock up their carries, make them useless for 4 seconds the whole fight, and take them all to half health. But instead, what was happening was my carries were dying instantly, and then they were just focusing me down. So that's the sort of example of something where I wasn't consciously thinking about it, but somebody had to tell me and constructively criticize me. So that can work for professional players too, because even though they're very good at League of Legends, they're not perfect players. So maybe some things you can help them with, because as a sort of head coach and not a strategic coach or gameplay coach, you really don't have the knowledge they do about the actual game of League of Legends, but you can give them suggestions on communication, or you could give them suggestions on how to practice as a team, or how to practice individually, or just things they weren't doing already. You could say, "Hey, I noticed that when you were like Meteos, hey Meteos, I noticed that when you're coming down from the spot to take the enemy blue buff, you were close to the bot lane, and you didn't tell them where you were, and also they didn't call for you in the gank. So maybe you guys should be working on your communication with each other, and working with Jensen's Talia to try to make a cohesive play as a 4-man unit." If this sounds really specific, it's because it is. This is what they didn't do in their series versus TSM and got shit stomped. So already there, you as a coach, you could be reminding them of things and criticizing them during things they might not even realize they're doing or are not doing. And that was one of the things. If you watch my video on Reaper becoming the head coach of C9, I mentioned was the one thing that the players did say about Reaper, and if this is true, it's phenomenal, is he's telling us to do things. He's not only telling us things that we are doing wrong, he's telling us things we didn't even think to do right, which is, I mean, it really shouldn't be a revolutionary idea that a coach would have new ideas for players to be doing things correctly and have ways they could have improved their game in certain areas. But I think it's albeit a obvious merit of a coach to be able to do that. It's something that coaches need to be able to have in general, and unfortunately, I don't think all of them do have it. So, to summarize, we talked about in the part one. We talked about the importance of practicing with an intention, so that your plays become first you can think to do the plays, and then they become something you can do without even thinking about it, so you can practice them subconsciously. Then we talked about the importance of reminding your players if they can't remember themselves. And then we talked about the power of affirmation, telling your players they did a good job when they do a good job, so that they can they want to make the same play again, and constructive criticism, so your players know when they did something wrong, and they know how to improve next time, and they won't want to make the same mistake again. And so that if they didn't realize they're doing something wrong, you can bring it to light so it can be something else that they can work on. So with that final summary, I think I'll leave this video off. Thanks for watching, and bye.